So, automated living, a pretty well-known topic, I'm sure by now. Um, I just wanted to kind of brush over everything and let everyone know about some really nice convenient features and how I think, how I see automated living. So, let's just speak about some of the convenient features that automated living can provide us. These are things such as energy saving, which will in turn save us money on our utility bills, right? With like smart lights and voice automated controls, motion detected rooms turning on and off, things like that. Um, but seeing as home automation is still kind of a relatively new technology, it may be a bit overwhelming for some people at first. So let's kind of just break down exactly what home automation is and how you can add some to your life, right? So let's just start with what is home automation? Home automation is the automatic control of devices in your home through things like applications or voice assistants. These devices are all connected to the internet, which is what allows them to be controlled remotely. With home automation, devices can trigger one another, so you don't have to control them. These are things like you can set up via schedules, but they also allow you to control them via an application or voice assistant, obviously. You do still want that level of control. Uh, but as an example, you can put lights on a schedule that will automatically turn off when you're going to bed, or you can put them onto a motion tracked system. So once you enter a room, the light will turn on and off accordingly. You can also have things set up like your thermostat that monitors a room's temperature, and then it will turn up your air conditioning units, and then also put that on a schedule for when you're coming home from work, half an hour before you get home, your air conditioning unit will start so that when you get home, your house is less stuffy and way more welcoming and inviting. Uh, in essence, home automation really makes life more convenient for us. It can save us money as well on things like heating, cooling, and our electricity bills. It can also lead to greater safety with Internet of Things being all connected, like security camera systems. But before we get into that, let's just have a brief overview of what the Internet of Things is. Uh, so, a short little terminology is that the Internet of Things, also commonly known as IoT, it refers to any device that's connected to the internet that wouldn't normally be. For example, a smart light bulb. I'll be giving quite a couple examples throughout the talk. So you can turn a smart light bulb on and off via an application rather than having to get up from your bed and going and switching the light on and off. They also have a lot more features like being able to be RGB and having 16 million different color combinations. I don't know how much faster you want your room to run, but that will definitely help with that. And in essence, all home automation devices would be known as an IoT device because they can be automated to trigger one another as well. So while IoT refers to the device themselves, home automation is really about what you can do with these IoT devices to make your life just a tad bit easier. Let's get into talking about how home automation works. Uh, Home automation works via a network of devices that are connected to the internet through different communication protocols, such as Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, or Zigbee. There are many others out there as well that you can look into. These electronic interfaces, the device can be managed remotely through controllers such as a voice assistant or application. Alexa and Google Assistant are quite well-known applications and voice assistants that people use. Many of these IoTs have sensors that can monitor change in motion, temperature, and lighting, just so that you can link these all up and schedule certain events to be triggered off of one another. This also allows us to gather information about the device's surroundings so we can have a better understanding of what's going on in our living environments. And then we can also have them make physical changes like opening garage doors, uh, and these are all triggered by an application, or we can also set up a system that would, for example, have an AI that recognizes your specific car's license plates and your face, and then it would open up your gate entrance, for example, or your garage door. So there are three big levels of home automation. The first one being monitoring. Uh, Monitoring is where the user can check in on our devices remotely through an application. I'll use a security system or security camera for this example. So this would be us literally just logging into our application and looking at what's going on in the room. Then the next level would be the level of control that we have over the system. And this is things like being able to pan an area for information on a living space. So let's say we get a notification that there's movement, we can open up our application and then pan the room with whichever camera's gone off. Then the final level is the actual automation itself. This would be setting up a device to trigger one another, like having a alarm system go off if your security camera were to detect motion during set times that there aren't meant to be motions going on in your household, and this will give you notifications as well as you can set up other events to happen, like calling the police automatically. Let's talk a bit about the remote control aspect as well. So with home automation, one big thing is the amount of control you gain over your house remotely. So you can be anywhere in the world as long as your devices are connected to the internet, you can control them as long as you have an internet connection and you are anywhere in the world, so you can see what's going on in your house. These are things like mobile applications. A lot of the time, you'll see people using these mobile applications that are given with devices, such as doorbell systems and security cameras, as we kind of spoke about. Uh, these give us the user the control in real time, whether we want to shut off lights, open garage doors, and applications are very, very well made at the moment. And this is also how we would be able to set up our schedules, create our scenes, and group IoT devices together to communicate. Um, Then also with these applications, they're very compatible at the moment. A lot of companies produce Android and iOS versions of their application just for that compatibility with many people around the world. Then we'll kind of briefly talk about the voice assistants. So voice assistants are really the cherry on top of this whole thing. You can use your voice to control devices around your household, like music systems if you're in the kitchen and your hands are full and you just want to listen to some music, or you want to learn how to make a pizza really quickly and you don't know a recipe, but you kind of got your hands in a mess. You can just ask your Alexa to play a certain video on the internet or find a recipe for you. Um, As I said earlier, there's some control protocols that really allow us to connect to these IoT devices and manage them. Just briefly, some of these things would be like Wi-Fi. This is probably the most common control protocol that people use, because it's just really easy. However, when you do have like a lot of IoT devices running together and communicating all the time, it can have effects on your internet speeds, and that can be kind of detrimental, in which case you may want to look into some other options such as Z-Wave, which won't mess with your house's Wi-Fi, but it's a wireless technology that operates on a much lower power frequency. There's also something like Zigbee, which is similar to Z-Wave, and Zigbee is a mesh network which allows for universal language that lets a whole bunch of IoT devices communicate to one another. Then there's obviously Bluetooth, but not a lot of people would probably go for this option as it's a bit more short range, but you can probably connect Bluetooth devices up to one another and then connect them to your Wi-Fi network so that you can still control it from wherever you are. Um, let's just briefly talk about some pros and cons of the whole home automation thing. One of the biggest pros is the remote access. People love to be able, you want to be able to control your home from wherever you are in the world. And that's seen as one of the biggest pluses of having home automation, is that big gain of remote access that you have. You can control pretty much anything from wherever you are. Then there's the comfort aspect as well. Have you ever been in bed and you've forgotten to turn off the lights? And it's winter now, especially. It's freezing cold. You don't want to have to get up again. Uh, with home automation and IoT, you can really feel the comfort from your own bed by just picking up your phone and turning that light off from wherever you are, and you can sleep peacefully that night. Then there's also the energy efficiency factor. How many times have you left a heater on or some form of heating device on that you forgot to switch off, and you wake up in the morning and it's just kind of, oh no, how did this happen? With home automation, you can set specific schedules for start and stop times. So no matter what, you will be having that large amount of energy efficiency and energy saving factor as well. Then there's obviously the convenience factor. Being able to control a device remotely or via your voice and set them on schedules and sync them up with like sunsets and sunrises is absolutely amazing. You can have a nice cup of coffee brewing for you as soon as you start to wake up, as soon as that morning sun starts to rise. And then you can have things like your electric blankets start warming up when you're about to get ready for bed. Then there's kind of the safety aspect. You can set up a lot of home safety measures with these devices and interlink them and help secure your home more. But there is also a con with setting up a whole bunch of security devices, which I'll talk about just now, as we're getting onto the cons list now. One of the biggest cons is the actual cost of these devices. They can be really expensive, especially when you compare them to their non-Wi-Fi connecting counterparts. But sometimes these devices are really well worth it, and they come in with quite a lot of extra features. Like there's quite a couple smart light bulbs that feature RGB, as I kind of touched about earlier, and that really makes things seem way more beneficial to you when you think about the extra features as well. Then there's also the big security issue that comes along with setting up a home security system that's always connected to the internet. With everything that's connected to the internet, there are big factors and big problems that can arise with hackings, and there have been cases of Ring's cameras being hacked in the past, which kind of leaves a bit of a worry in our back of the mind. So you're going to have to be very you're going to have to like kind of keep up to date and make sure that you practice really good digital security, especially if you don't want your information or these devices leaked or compromised. There's also the fact that there's a lot of new technology coming out and you can run into a lot of bugs. Some devices can also be poorly made and manufactured if it is their first time out on the market. And you can also have trouble connecting certain devices up to each other and to the internet, and you can also experience some lag with these devices. Then there's also the surveillance side of cons, where if you're really huge on privacy and you may want to look into a more local security setup, as it's way less it's not connected to the internet then, and things will be way more secure for you to work around. So with home automation, I think it's a really interesting thing to look into. There's just a couple cons to it that could be like really big factors, such as the security. You don't want anyone hacking into your systems or getting a hold of any information about your living space. So that's pretty much going to do it for my talk on home automation. I hope I was able to make some people interested in it, into looking into some of the key features and some of the key possibilities with the comfort side of things and the ease of access and use. Thank you.